3, 2, 1. G'day everyone, Wesley here from Trusted Trades, where I take the time out to interview people in my social circle or business circle who I deem to be really, really good at what they do. Anyway, I've been in business now, would you believe, 20 years. Yes, I am 18 years old. And that's a really bad joke. Anyway, I've been doing this around, and Jess Reynolds here is a town planner, and I really wanted to get her on camera and interview her because it's not every day, I must admit, that you meet a female, well, I don't, town planner, but a town planner that is genuinely really, really good at what she does, because I have personally engaged her services from a feedback perspective, and then I just know that certain other people have been engaging her and speak really well. So I just thought I would take the opportunity to interview this amazing woman and her amazing business and how she got involved into it, because it's really inspiring to see a woman doing her own thing. So Jessica Reynolds. Yay!
Yay! Yay for me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I must say I have actually looked forward to this because I know that you enjoy what you do, and I actually think Jessica is one of the funniest people I've ever met.
Oh, God, pressure.
Yeah, well, I find it funny. Now, listen, I always start, how did you get started in urban planning?
Urban planning.
Or town planning, is that better?
Town planning and urban planning are the same thing. They're interchangeable. It's just town planning is what generally we use, but I don't like using it because it's very old school.
Okay.
You know, we're not planning towns anymore. We're planning urban areas. That means it could be towns, it could be regional areas,
So,
it could be cities.
Combines everything.
Yeah, I like it. I prefer that term. But how I got started. So when I finished high school, I actually wanted to do IT. But I wasn't, IT. I wasn't 100% sure though, so what I thought I would do is take a year off, but I keep studying, bit of a nerd. But I just went to TAFE, I did business administration, ended up working for Project Home Builder on the Sunshine Coast, and then eventually started working for architects on the Sunshine Coast. And in that time I'd be on the phone talking to the planners, everyone was complaining, saying, oh, the town planners are telling us to do this, do that, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be them, not you.
Yes.
So I enrolled at university to do my bachelor in urban and regional town planning at UQ.
Okay, so it wasn't initially, it
No.
was a bit later down
No,
the track.
it was something I just worked out, and as I said, everyone was complaining, saying they were telling me what to do, and I was like, yep, that's me.
Yeah, I had no idea. Okay, so just to backtrack a little, so you worked in an architect firm and just helping out? Like,
I was admin, so I was front of desk
wow.
doing all the data entry back when you used to have to enter in all the details into Excel spreadsheets and pretty...
And what was it, obviously within those conversations, what was it that attracted you to doing the urban planning? Or were you just so sick and tired of having to solve problems that you're like, well, I might as well learn it myself?
Well, no, I didn't really have to do what they were doing. Really, all I was doing was printing up the plans. I was just sort of coming into contact with it. It was more, planners seemed to have a role that people aspired to. It was like, you know, they are the ones that are making decisions. They're deciding what can and can't be done. And that's pretty much what attracted me. I, to be honest, didn't know anything else other than that.
Yeah. Wow. Did you like the fact that you could, I guess, create, you know, urban spaces? Was there any of that artistic feeling there, or was it just you sort of
potentially, to be honest, it's a while ago to really think
now,
about
now
what you could
like
do.
The creative stuff.
Well, I like the creative things, but really what you're told about town or urban planning at high school and even university, you think you're going out there to do, you know, master planning projects and you're going to do all these designs, but really that's what the architects do.
Yep.
We're just there to deal with the legislation, project manage teams, make sure everyone's giving us the right information, and then negotiating that with council. So as much as I'd like to say we can be creative with designs and things, we do get to be creative with our solutions, how we address the legislation, and how we can work with architects and other consultants to come up with solutions. But really, we're not the ones designing it.
Was there any initial thoughts of your trade once you sort of started getting involved, where you're a bit like, oh wow, this is not what I thought it was going to be, or it's more than what you thought?
I actually had a pretty soft introduction. So what I did when I first started at university, I was working at the Rollerdrome on the Sunshine Coast, but I really wanted to get planning. Rollerdrome, yeah, it's still there.
Explain. What is the roll?
The Rollerdrome, you get on rollerblades and you're
it's
like an ice rink, but with rollerblades.
That's awesome.
It's fun.
Yes.
Anyway.
I used to skate with 4 wheels each leg. That's 8.
Sounds cool. Not. So I was basically trawling through Seek to find any type of job in a planning firm. So I found an administrator role at a planning firm, just a small boutique firm in Bowen Hills. And so I kind of got to understand what they did. And then I eventually went over to another planning firm and helped them. So it was like I had this introduction to what statutory planning is.
Yes.
Which is all legislation, before I even graduated.
Legislation.
So I kind of had a good, it's my favourite word.
I
use
must
it every
say,
day.
you're making me feel old because you're like trawling through Seek for a job, and I'm like, that wasn't around when I was going through my early careers of jobs.
Hey, might have been better for you.
She's young. Anyway, how long, well, I guess the word's apprenticeship, but I don't know if it's like, was there a traineeship, 4 years at uni, 3 years?
4 years at uni, so it's an honours degree.
Yep.
There is, when I went through university, there was no sort of work placement. There is now.
Okay.
A lot of universities do work placement. But really, I just got that experience by just having my admin background, getting into a firm, and then sort of just, as you do, like you start connecting with people, they like your vibe, then they want you to work for them, and then you get that experience, and then once you graduate, you can kind of step into a role.
And I actually must say the sequence of events of how you got involved are pretty cool actually, because you would have had some background.
Yeah.
And once you finished, sort of, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, that trying to get a job was a bit easier.
It was. Like, I graduated in 2011. It wasn't really a peak time for town planners. Like, I think a lot of council people had just been sacked actually.
Oh wow.
But I think I did maybe 3 interviews.
Yep.
And I got the 3rd one. And yeah, so like that's pretty good.
Yep.
Even today, that's
was that
still pretty
here,
good.
Or was that
That's in
Sunshine
Brisbane.
Coast? Yep, cool.
So I was kind of living on the Sunshine Coast. That's where my family was at the time. So that's why I was still sort of working up there.
Yep.
But then I migrated to Brisbane and
the big snow.
Yeah, for university.
Like through those years, the honours, once you got your urban ticket, like what was some of the
ticket? Such a tradie.
I'm a tradesman. What were some of the biggest lessons to come out of the learnings?
The learnings from university.
Yes.
Teamwork in an environment where there's no real reward. So you're dealing with people who maybe don't really care about marks, have other things going on in their life, and there's no, it's not like in the real work environment either where if you don't get things done, you get sacked. So you really start to learn how to deal with different personality types and really have empathy for people's situations.
Yep.
The other thing that you get exposed to is just, again, different types of people. I think that's what university really gives people. Like, there are so many friendship circles and understanding of different cultures and ideas and lifestyles that I don't think I would have had if I didn't go to university.
Yep.
It definitely is a melting pot.
Yep.
And I think even to this day, that's probably the best thing it gave me.
Yeah.
As well as an understanding of,
Toga parties.
planning theory. I did not, I think I went to one party.
You're making up for it now.
Excuse me.
Off topic, but when was that moment when you decided, you know what, I'm going to go out by myself?
I think I was, the moment, I don't know if there was a full moment, but I do remember sitting at a table at a council meeting. It was just, this project was just like chaotic. I'd inherited it. It was literally a table full of men. There was probably like 12 people in the room. And I literally just went, what if we do this? Boom, boom, boom. And I went, why am I just doing this for myself? Have a bit of a lifestyle. When you work for someone else, there is commitment. You can't just go on holiday when you want to. Like, not that I can do that now, but I have a bit more freedom. Yeah. So if I, need to do something for my family or friends in the middle of the day, I can take that time off and help them, and then I can just work into the evening. And that's kind of what I was looking at. It was more a lifestyle choice and me deciding and having the confidence that I do know what I'm doing, I'm good at what I do, now let's go to the next level. Yeah,
and lifestyle's a big one for you. Actually, I just interviewed Lachlan McCurdy earlier on today, and he was the same thing. He wanted to create a lifestyle, and hence that was one of the reasons going out onto his own. And you're absolutely right.
Yeah, well, it's definitely a trade-off, isn't it, with business? It's like, there's risks in other ways and there's more effort in other ways, but then you do get that, somewhat of a freedom.
Yep.
Whereas when you work for someone else, it's safety, you have consistent income from the start, but you don't have that freedom. You can't just, unless you have a great boss, I'm sure they're out there, but still to some extent, you don't have the same freedom.
And looking, like, when did you go out on your own again? What did you say?
Well, probably end of 2014.
Yeah, okay, so we've going 4 years.
It's almost 4 years.
Yeah. Looking back now, what has been something that you may deem a failure that's turned into a success? So what have been some of the biggest lessons?
Some of the biggest lessons. So I talk about, I started because I wanted freedom, and then I had too much freedom. So really, when I first started the business, I really was, for the first 2 years, was working 2 days a week. And that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to go out kiteboarding and sailing and scuba diving and traveling to Brazil. Like, these were the things I wanted to do. So I guess instead of taking a gap year, I sort of took it over 2 years and spread it out. And then one day, 2 years ago, I guess like around 19 months ago, decided, I had a vision when I started this, let's get serious.
Yeah.
So that's probably been one of the lessons, watch what you're doing.
Yeah.
Too much freedom can also not be good.
Well, you've got to fund the freedom, right?
Yeah, well, funding the freedom as well. Like, I didn't find my rich husband, so.
Yeah. Is there anything that you've learnt out of business that you're using for your own skills today?
Business. So business, I have found, is very relationship based. And so it's something I've definitely taken into my personal life as well, of developing yourself to really be able to communicate and talk to different people, get on their level, again, increasing that empathy and just being able to put yourself in other people's shoes, in business and personal. Yeah. And that has been like a big learning curve for me. Like, I, haven't always been this mature.
I must say, like, your network is now spreading out. Like, have you found that because, we do know each other from BNI, is it because you're actively getting involved in more networking opportunities, or are you sort of consciously making more connections with people? I'm
consciously making more connections with people who I want to align with.
Yep.
So I'm not just, talking to, I would talk to everyone and anyone, but at the same time I am pretty targeted in going, okay, I think you have some similar values to me. And then once you connect with those people, your network tends to just open up even more, because then they have people that share similar values, and it just, the more people you meet, the easier it gets to know who those people are.
Yeah. And have you found that sort of surrounding yourself with these people is creating more success in your business?
Totally. Yep. Like, you always want to surround yourself with people who support you and you support them, and there's this mutual respect. Because they're always going to be your biggest advocates and supporters. So, the chips are not always going to be up, sometimes they're down, and you need people like Wes who are there to go, pull your head in, life's good, get back out there.
She does have a good life. It actually sometimes makes me wonder. Now, you mentioned vision for the business.
Yes.
What is vision for Urban Planners Queensland?
So my vision has always been to sort of be a local planning service. I really want my business to grow into a way that it's different pods. So you have your local planner in Brisbane, which would be me at the moment, local planner Sunshine Coast, Gold Coast, Toowoomba. So they're accessible, but they're also part of a large network, and they have that support. So it's all about being like the most efficient and best value like planning service. Yeah.
And so would you say you do collaboration with a planner up in Sunshine Coast, or would you like them to fall under the brand?
They would fall under the brand rather than a collaboration. Obviously in business that's always pretty fluid, those types of decisions, but for a while now I've had this vision. Awesome. I've seen how it can work. It's just about getting that culture right, getting the right clients on board, and getting that consistent work, and then recreating that in those parts, rather than this is opposed to having just a large office in Brisbane where people from, say, the Sunshine Coast have to either travel down or we travel up. It's it's just a different style.
And would you, I guess I've jumped a couple of questions here, but it goes with, I think, what we're talking about. So the next 12 months to the next 3 years, like, what are you doing to make that happen?
So at the moment, basically, we are hiring.
Nice.
planner.
You?
Yes.
Really?
Yes, we're in the final stages of hiring a town planner. So
Cool.
they'll basically be my assistant, and they'll be,
Nice.
you know, trained up hopefully to maybe, you know, start then managing those hubs. And then that just leads the way for me to then be able to focus more on business development.
Yes. Yes.
And doing more
Hence the
high level planning.
relationships,
So yeah, I love being on the phone. I love meeting people. I love dealing with those high level solutions for planning. What I don't love is doing the admin stuff. So this is the start of that, of creating like the Brisbane hub.
Yep.
And then basically we will be looking to recreate that in different areas.
Yep.
But we're just really focusing on Brisbane at the moment, start on Moreton Bay soon, and just sort of like expanding that way. So that's sort of like the 12-month, 3-year plan.
Yep.
And we'll just see how far it goes, and you know, anything can happen in the property market.
Maroochydore, that area there seems quite exciting with all the planning going on.
It does. We would like to. That was initially where I wanted to hit next, because that's, you know, where family is, and I love kiteboarding and surfing. So, but apparently a lot of other people do too. So we're kind of wanting to move into markets where they're probably a bit underserviced.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Cool. Good. And I guess customer service is a big thing. Like, why choose Urban Planners?
Urban
over
Planners
something?
Queensland.
Yeah.
Well, basically, you get me. You get me. So
Ta-da.
what I love about town planning is I do love working with people. I love working with legislation to come up with solutions. It is an industry that I love. I have a passion for it. And I do actually give a shit about you and your project. Like, you're just not a number to me. You know, I want to make sure that you're happy, because a lot of the time I'm dealing with people who are putting their life savings into property. Developers, it's their business, their livelihoods, they've got children to feed,
High risk.
you know, and I know that, and I care, and I want to, you know, get the best solution, and I want to give honest opinions, so that people aren't just throwing money away.
I guess, you know, one of my questions is, what do you want to create within your business? And it sounds like you want to create a town planning firm that really does care for their client, because, and you mentioned developers, the more time things take, the more cost is involved. Is that kind of where you're heading with that, you know, understanding those costs involved?
Yeah, we definitely understand that, and it's something that we accommodate for basically through our communication. So that's how, because we're not project managers, so I'm not going to sit there and go, you know, this is costing this so much. Like, I know it's costing you, but I'm not doing the figures. That's what the developer's doing. He's the one calling me, or she. But yeah, to me it comes down to communication. So I make sure that any of my clients, as soon as they're looking at a property, they're contacting me. As soon as they're about to design, they're contacting me. As soon as the design's done, they're contacting me. And it's always this to and fro. And then once it gets to council, we're all talking. It's just about creating communication, because that's how you're going to save time and money. Because if you're not communicating, things get lost, things do get delayed. That's when the problems start.
Just, obviously, you mentioned the word council. Collaboration's a big thing. Like, are you finding that being transparent and communicating with them regularly helps with council, particularly getting projects over the line?
It depends what council you're dealing with. So if you're dealing with more of the regional councils, yes, being upfront and honest and saying, hey, this is the, you know, timeframes we're working to, this is what we're doing, what do you think? Regional council is really good for it. Brisbane City Council really depends who you've got.
As an individual.
Look, it's a bit of a gamble at the moment. I'm going to be like pretty blunt. It's Brisbane City Council is its own entity. You know, dealing with them, you could call up and you could have two very similar projects, and one assessment manager says one thing and the other one says another. Consistency is not their strong point.
I know that there's some huge frustrations with the Brisbane City Council, and trust me, they do good work, but there is frustration out there at the moment. Where's that coming from? And
2020 elections.
Is it?
So a lot of people will notice there's a lot more handshaking photos of Graham Quirk going around. There's a lot.
With who though?
With the local councillors.
So
anyone who I guess is LNP supported, but you also get a lot of pamphlets in the papers, like in your mailboxes. And they've released that Brisbane Future Blueprint, which is a document where they say they surveyed 100,000 people. Haven't seen the names. And so they're basically making planning decisions based on that. And even though it's like a policy document, kind of, they're kind of trying to put that into legislation soon.
It's interesting because if you do the math, there's 2.4 million people in Brisbane and 100,000. That's not even, it's like 3%. So they're making decisions.
Well, the problem is who are those 3% who are putting that in?
What's the minority?
Well, I haven't to date heard anyone I know. I've asked a lot of people if they were surveyed, and nobody said, yeah, I was part of that.
I've never heard.
The only thing I've heard is that they were surveying people at those Talk to a Planner days.
Yep.
Generally, people who are complaining about things.
Yes.
And coming from someone who's done, it's only 4 years of your life, but at 4 years, honours degree in town planning, looking at planning theory, best practice, you don't go and ask general public who don't understand planning practices.
Yeah.
How to plan a city.
Yeah, it's true.
Yes, you can get their opinions and go, okay, well, this is what they want, but how can we accommodate that in a different way and be innovative?
Yeah.
But you don't go, oh, okay, Joe off the street, you want a backyard, do you? Okay, let's do it. Because there's a lot of issues that are going to come from that. So if you keep all the backyards in inner city Brisbane, say inner 5Ks, who's going to be able to afford an 800 metre square site? Only very particular people.
Yes.
And therefore you're just creating this like enclave of, wealthy people.
And also we talk about this, we don't want to keep urban sprawling.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
so,
totally.
Okay, I get it. But then you're stopping people from getting the best value out of their block of land and to create density, and all of a sudden you're stopping that.
There's a lot of crazy stuff out there. There's things like this. I know that there's also data out there at the moment where you can actually use it to find out whether council's planning is going to work, if it is actually going to have the outcomes that they think it will from a profitability standpoint, whether people are actually going to develop it, but they're still not using it.
Yeah.
I love Brisbane. I think Brisbane City Council does some great stuff, but I also think we can always do things better.
Yeah.
And I think when politics plays too hard in planning, you're not getting the best outcomes.
Yeah, I just think at the moment we're listening to the minority and not the majority. Ad break. This is the funnest part.
Okay.
Okay, cool. So I'll go first because, it gives Jess a little bit of time to think of it.
I don't know what I'm doing.
Yes, doesn't know. But my ad is Spot Speak Support. And because Jess was there on the weekend, Sunday the 7th of October, helping at the Walk for Awareness, where we had 2,500 people, raised over $200,000, she is going to get our famous Spot Speak Support. So what is Spot Speak Support, you ask? Well, Spot is spotting your friend if they need a hand, or you're noticing something unusual, perhaps they're detaching, or just something's not right. You know your friend, so you know when something's not right. Speak, having the courage to go and ask them, are you okay? Pretty easy. And then support. Obviously, if they're not okay, it's directing them in the right direction, or just providing that emotional or conscious support. So we actually have our hat here, and these here are the 3 triangles. Now, did you notice, Jess, I'll ask you a question. Do you know what the strongest shape is within the shape sphere?
Is it a triangle?
Ding!
Lucky guess.
You got it right. So there's 3 triangles. So spot, speak, support. So obviously because when the pressure comes down, if we've got that social network around us and we do our 3 actions, you get a base and there's your support.
How did you find out that the triangle was the strongest?
I've just heard it over, and you think about it,
have you
when
Googled
you push,
it?
Yeah, I have, and it is true, because when you push the pressure, it disperses like so, and it's got a base.
That's really interesting. Love it.
So that's my ad for this. Now, for this segment.
Am I allowed to do my advert?
Yes. Now, advert. This is part 1. Where you do. I'm going to split these into part 2. So no. We'll finish on your ad.
Right now.
Yeah, so...
Okay, so mine does not have a cause. Mine is my extra white bubble gum. So what I love about this is that I haven't used bubble gum in 3 years, but since I bought this, I literally use it probably every half hour. It's an addiction.
And you know what I love, Jess?
What?
Your nails match the branding.
Look, that's how I buy things now. Only things that are pink.
It's all matchy. Now, I do love this. I've actually got the blue version. And I do love it because when your teeth get a little furry, they seem to take the fur away.
You got blue and I got pink.
Well,
we're really progressive.
Well, blue's my favourite.
We need a gender neutral one.
Anyway, we'll leave it there for part 1, and we'll be coming back for series part 2. Are you excited?
Of course.
Cool. We'll see you next.